Welcome to part 1 of Gordon Library's tutorial on getting started with IQP Research. When thinking about your IQP, it can be helpful to break your project into different facets. For example, you may look for research that addresses the social aspects of your project, research that addresses the technical aspects, and research that addresses the local aspects. The way you choose to break down your project may look a little different from what is shown here. The important thing to remember is that you are unlikely to find research that encompasses every aspect of your project. You will need to tackle the project from different angles and then bring this information together as you work on your project. One strategy for getting started with a project like IQP is to identify what you need to know in order to do your project. Start by brainstorming questions about your project. Remember to consider broad questions about theories and practices related to your project, and remember to look for examples from other communities, other regions, and other countries. Pretend that you are working on this project. Your sponsor is the Tatnick Neighborhood Association. They want you to set up a community garden in the Tatnick neighborhood of Worcester, Massachusetts. What questions do you need to ask before starting your research on this topic? Here are some questions you may want to consider when researching for this project. For social information, consider, what is a community garden? This may sound like a basic question, but without understanding the different ways of defining and implementing community gardens, you may miss some crucial information. What are the benefits of a community garden? This will help you address why you are doing this project. What are the challenges of organizing a community garden? This is important to consider as you may face similar challenges. For technical information, you may want to consider information about the climate and the soil, as well as information about tools and equipment that may be needed to create and maintain a community garden. For local information, consider the demographics of the neighborhood. What are some important characteristics of the people who live here that you need to be aware of? What do the people who live here want to see in their neighborhood? Are there any local laws or guidelines that may affect your project? Keep in mind that some of these questions can be answered by doing research in library databases and government and organization websites. Other questions may not be answered until you reach out to the people in the community, such as with surveys, focus groups, or interviews. You can also ask questions about your sponsor. What projects have they done in the past? What can be learned from those projects? Another important part of your research is to look at examples of similar projects from other communities. What can you learn from those projects? What lessons can be applied to your project? Work with your team to identify the different facets of your project. What questions do you need to ask in order to gain a better understanding of your project? These questions will help guide your research process by identifying what information you need to find in order to complete your project successfully. For guidance on where to begin looking for information to address these questions, watch part 2 of this tutorial.